Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. This is episode number 9. As you can tell by the kind of description from Buck Owens in that song, they're going to put me in the Act Naturally is the name of the song, but they're going to put me in the movies. Today's theme, that's what we're talking about, is country music's influence on movies and TV shows, and movies and TV shows influence on country music, how they've meshed, and some good examples, and just a good discussion about that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's so many different movies and TV shows that they're either based on country music or the soundtracks are so heavily country. I mean, even if it's a movie not about country music at all, it's still heavily based on country music.
That's right.
So
let's give them some examples.
Yeah.
One I thought of, or go ahead.
Well, I think Smokey and the Bandit, man, because you got Jerry Reed. He's a, he was a singer before he was an actor, wasn't
True.
he? And he basically does most of that soundtrack himself, and he's a good actor up there. Matter of fact, a lot of people argue that he's more popular up there than Sally Field and Burt Reynolds.
That's true. A lot of people do say that. Jerry Reed, side note, Jerry Reed is the first concert I ever attended.
Really?
In Raleigh at the State Fair. It was Jerry Reed and Tanya Tucker.
Man.
I wasn't a huge Tanya Tucker fan, but Jerry Reed was awesome. My parents took me. It was, like I said, it was during the State Fair, like probably mid-'80s, somewhere in there, 86, 87.
Wow. Yeah, Jerry Reed, I was supposed to go see him, matter of fact, at the Stampede in Williamston.
Okay.
And I was supposed to go see him in about 2003, and he got sick or something. It was about August or September, because it was the first year I had my license.
Okay.
And I know he wasn't that great vocally then, but I was excited to go see him,
He could play guitar.
Yeah, for sure.
But getting back to the topic of the movie,
Yeah.
it's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I love that movie.
I do too. And I mean, there's been several renditions of Eastbound and Down, the theme song of the whole movie. But I mean, obviously you're not going to beat Jerry Reed's, but man, what a song and what a movie.
It was great. Yeah, the another one that we have is the Dukes of Hazzard,
which is very similar.
Yeah. And not Rob Schneider, Lord knows, the one that plays Bo Duke.
John Schneider.
John Schneider. Yeah, I didn't realize that he was a country music singer.
Yeah.
Was that before the show?
I think, and don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was acting a little bit before, and I think he had done maybe a season or two of the show, but they were very close about his music career and his acting. So I don't know exactly which got started first, but they were pretty close.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love Dukes of Hazzard. And the remake, man, the one that they came out with around 2005.
Yeah.
That was like, for the movie, it was a decent movie if you can separate it from the original Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
But as far as like, it's nothing like that show, and they should have called it something else.
I think they made it too much of a comedy.
Yeah, I agree.
They like to ruin things nowadays. I'm not saying they necessarily ruined that, but yeah, it was definitely a different take on it.
Yeah. The Ranch is another good one.
Well, let me say another thing too while we're talking about Dukes of Hazzard. Not only were John Schneider had several number ones, had a really good country music career going along with the show, and Tom Wopat was an artist. Luke, he had some songs. He wasn't as successful as John Schneider.
Oh, really?
But he had albums and stuff too. And then obviously, Waylon Jennings is doing the theme song to the song, and he played in a few episodes or whatnot. But a lot of people may or may not remember this, but they had a lot of, like, the Boar's Nest was a place where they played music and stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a fact Tammy Wynette was on an episode. Dottie West was on an episode. The Oak Ridge Boys, Mel Tillis. A lot of great country music acts around that time were on that show, so it was very country music oriented.
Man, when I thought of that, the main one I thought of was Waylon.
Yep.
Which I love Waylon. I love the Outlaw Sound in general, but next to Hank Jr., he's my favorite one of those.
Right.
And when I think of the Dukes of Hazzard, that's mainly who I think of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
But as far as the Ranch goes, there's one thing that's cool about that to me is it's Lucas Nelson. That's Willie's son.
Uh huh.
And Shooter Jennings does the theme song.
Okay, and I haven't seen that show,
Man.
but my brother's seen it. He talks about it, and I know you've talked about it. Another friend of mine talks about it a lot.
Yeah, The Ranch is one of those. I bet I've seen it 5 or 6 times, like the whole way through, 5 or 6 times. Never gets old. But getting back to Lucas and Shooter, they sound so much like Waylon and Willie to me in that theme song. And in every episode, there's several different artists that are up there. Matter of fact, the episodes are named after country songs.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, Thomas Rhett has an appearance up there. There's different ones but they play like some Casey Musgraves, some Cody Johnson, stuff you wouldn't normally hear.
Okay.
You know, on the radio a whole lot.
And Sam Elliott's in the show, so that can't steer you wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Another one a lot of people are definitely familiar with is Pure Country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what a great movie, aside from the fact that George Strait was in it. But he didn't do a bad job acting. I mean, you know, he's not going to go out and win, you know, Oscars or anything, but he did good for what he was doing in that movie.
Yeah.
And he knew his limitations, and not that he has a lot of limitations, but he knew what he was doing and where he was going with it, and he knew his niche. And he was really good in that. And obviously, that to me, and I've got a lot of George Strait stuff, as most country music fans do. To me, still, even though it's a soundtrack from start to finish, I think that Pure Country soundtrack is the best thing he's done.
I remember you saying that before. Yeah, it was good. I didn't realize, and I had a good feeling that, I mean, obviously it was him doing the cow roping and stuff, but apparently he was a team roper, either before country music or while he was getting into it.
I think it was before it, and I had heard that too.
So I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I actually saw that movie. He may or may not watch. I know sometimes he watches this. My buddy Jody Moy, if he's out there, what's up, Jody? Me and him saw that. His dad took us to the theater to see that in '92. I think it was '92 it came out.
Yeah, I think so.
His dad took us to the theater to see that back when they had the theater over by the Carolina East Mall.
Oh, yeah.
And so we saw that in the movie. Then obviously, you know, it's on TV all the time now on CMT or AMC or somewhere. And of course, you know, with DVDs and everything, I've seen it a million times. But that's a cool memory and a cool movie.
Yeah, for sure. This one is one that I didn't think I'd be interested in it. I watched it just because I might not even should be on this podcast because I never got the hype from George Jones. And I hate to say it like that, but it's just like Buck Owens, the very beginning of this show, that music's just too old for me, but I respect it. But now that I've seen George and Tammy,
it's never too old for me. I love it.
Yeah. Now that I've seen George and Tammy,
changes things a little.
I got a whole new respect for them. I mean, I respect them anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you can definitely tell that if I was around that time period, that would be my style of music. But other than Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes, that was the main one that I really loved. But now that I've seen the movie, we've really dug up some of his other stuff. And man, that's a heck of a movie. That guy lived a crazy life. Really, it is wild. I mean, you know, you think of some of them like Johnny Cash and Hank Jr. He lived just as wild, man.
Yeah, and that's something like that show is good for. I mean, I saw that series too. It was really good. I mean, you didn't really need more than 6 or 7 episodes or whatever it was because you had to tell the story and they got right to it.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I do like about those shows, and I think that Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain portrayed George and Tammy pretty good and sang their own parts on the series. But I think it's good for things like that too. Like you can have a show like that say, I mean, you're a fan of a lot of good country acts, but not necessarily a big fan of George Jones. It kind of, not to say introduces him to you because I mean, obviously you know who he is, but
gives you
you look at him, you look at him in a different perspective, a different light.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. I agree 100%, man. But another one that I thought of is Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And I know that's a big hype now. It seems like everybody either loves it or couldn't get into it. Nobody really hates it or just watches it because there's nothing else on. They either love it, can't wait for the next one to come out, or they're like, yeah, I watched a couple episodes, couldn't get into it. But one thing I loved about them is most of the music up there, I call it Tim McGraw song. They played the Cowboy and Me one time. And other than Lainey Wilson joining the set and them playing some of her songs, most of it's stuff that a lot of people don't know. I mean, I love it. Matter of fact, season 1, episode 4, I think it was pretty close to that. They had, I might go back and watch it just to see, but they had Whiskey Myers playing at a bar. That was cool.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of Turnpike Troubadours up there. You know, a bunch of these people like Cody Jinks, Cody Johnson, the good stuff. They have it up there. I love it. So it's definitely a good Tyler Childers, Uncle Lucius, like all that stuff that most people either love or don't really know or can't get into. Like it's a different sound, and I love them for it.
Yeah.
You know.
I know you love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got a confession to make. I haven't watched the show, but I might be the only person in America because it's definitely, I mean, just hearing people talk and seeing stuff, it's definitely the hottest show on television. So, you know, maybe I'm the only one that haven't watched it, but I'll probably eventually get into it.
Yeah, and a disclaimer, I know at the very beginning of this show, my dog started barking for whatever reason. He almost just cleared this deck, so if he does, he might join the show too.
He's just giving us a like.
Yeah. You got anything?
Yeah, there's a movie, it was, I think it was early 90s, like 92, 93, called The Thing Called Love.
Okay.
And that's a really cool movie, man, because it kind of gets overlooked sometimes because it's the story of, and it's shot in Nashville, it's a story of a lot of three young artists trying to make it in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cool because it's Sandra Bullock, right here from North Carolina.
Oh, man.
Right here from, well, not from North Carolina, but went to school here at East Carolina. It's got Sandra Bullock in it. It's got River Phoenix in it. Which is weird because Joaquin Phoenix played and Walk the Line. But so they were both in a country music movie.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's about artists trying to make it, and they're in Nashville, and they spend a lot of time at the Bluebird Cafe, which I've spent a lot of time at. It's an awesome place. It's a good songwriter's lounge. And it's got some artists in it, like KT Oslam works there, so she kind of does a cameo in the movie. Trisha Yearwood is also plays a cameo in that movie.
She just got started about that time, hadn't she? You said
yeah,
92?
yeah, that would have been, yeah, she had probably been out a year or two. But anyway, The Thing Called Love, that's a really good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. One that I thought about, and this might get a little... A lot of people don't really like this movie. I know, if I remember correctly, you said you couldn't really get into it. But a movie I've always loved is The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas with Dolly Parton.
It's popular.
I mean, you got Dolly, Burt Reynolds, another main character up there. I can't call his name right offhand, but he's like the voice guy for several cartoons. He plays in Dom DeLuise or something like that.
Okay.
He's up there. It's a great movie. It's funny. The whole movie's hilarious, and it's got a lot of music, all by Dolly.
Awesome.
So,
we love Dolly.
Yeah, I think that's a good country music movie.
Okay. Another couple things that these weren't smash hits by any stretch, but Kenny Rogers took a couple of his songs, and put them into movies, and The Gambler and Coward of the County are two really well done movies that fit the songs that they're named after to a T. Those are really good.
Yeah. Another one I thought of is Urban Cowboy.
Love it.
There's some Charlie Daniels up there, Johnny Lee,
Mickey Gilley.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them up there. And Hank Jr. even in the South's Gonna Rally Again, he says something about Gilley selling bulls everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So you could tell at that time that was like the main thing going on. And Charlie Daniels was even on that movie.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good one. There's Walk the Line with Johnny Cash.
Great movie.
Yeah.
And Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, and to me, I love Johnny Cash. And I ain't just saying that because he's a popular name. Like, unlike the George Jones thing, I listen to Johnny Cash all the time.
Yeah.
And, it's almost like Joaquin Phoenix nearly became Johnny Cash to play that movie.
He got into the role for sure. He set himself in it.
He seems to do that, kind of like he did the Joker. And when he gets into a movie, he is really into it. You know? And I haven't seen it, but you said there's a 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton, right?
Yeah, there's a movie called 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton. That's pretty good. I didn't see it till, obviously I didn't see it when that song was big and when the movie came out. But I've seen it in the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty good. And I don't remember, I watched a lot of movies and some of them run together. But I remember watching the movie and I remember it being good, but I do not remember a whole lot of specifics about it.
Yeah. There's one that I haven't seen, but it's very popular and a lot of people love it. It's called Nashville. Have you seen any of that?
I have never seen an episode of that.
Okay. I got you. I know a lot of people love it. I don't know what's played up there, but I did want to mention it because I don't like mentioning stuff I haven't seen, but
sure,
it's very popular and it's called Nashville.
Yeah. I
know it's flooded with like real country stars that make, appearances up there and stuff.
Sure.
So I thought that was one to mention.
Another cool little tidbit is there was a movie, I want to say it was either 2018 or 2019, that had Jason Michael Carroll in it, who I think is vocally one of the best singers in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
And that deep range is amazing, and he can sing anything. That's just all there is to it. But I do think Strings with Jason Michael Carroll, and it's kind of a movie about there's a guy and a girl both that come in town to try to make it in the music business, and as they do, his past kind of haunts him a little bit. And it's just, I don't want to say too much, but that's a great story and a great movie. Strings with Jason Michael Carroll is really cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I'd love to though.
Yeah, I heard about it. I saw him. I think it was in Raleigh, and I was watching his concert, and I think it was at the Lincoln Theater, and he mentioned it, and I didn't even know about it. He mentioned it during the concert, and then I think my brother bought it on DVD off Amazon or something. We watched it. But it's really good, man. He's good in it, and the music's good in it. It's just a good movie.
Yeah, have you still got it?
Oh yeah, I'll bring it to you. I'll let you borrow it.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't mind checking that out. There's also another one too with Jana Kramer. I have it, but I can't remember what it's called though. It's like it's more like a Hallmark movie. I've only seen it once.
Okay.
But basically it's like, I could be wrong, but she basically moves into town, and there's like two dudes. One's, it's that whole, they're all the same kind of,
Yeah,
I can't really get into it.
They all have the same plot.
Yeah. But another thing too that I wanted to go off of, with there's some of them like we were talking about Smokey and the Bandit, Dukes of Hazzard, all of those. You can't really kill those movies off, man. They're gonna always be, they're legendary.
They are. It'll never change.
Yeah, and they're so quotable too.
They are, and I love it when I know Smokey and the Bandit's come back to the theater for certain anniversaries.
Yeah.
I think 40-year anniversary, maybe even 45. It's come back to the theater a couple times, and every time I'll go watch it, just because there's nothing like watching a movie in the theater.
Yeah.
And something like Smokey and the Bandit that I didn't get to experience in the theater as a kid, now I've gotten to a couple times, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and what worries me the most, man, is if they're so bad about, instead of coming up with their new storylines, they'll want to redo something. I'm so scared they're gonna try to redo Smokey and the Bandit.
I sure hope not.
Gosh,
some things
knows,
need to be
man.
left alone.
I know.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I feel like it's coming though.
Yeah.
Just like with them doing the Point Break, Dukes of Hazzard, all those. I'm like, man, I hope they don't do that.
Yeah. Speaking of Jana Kramer, though, you mentioned her. I'm a big fan of. It's kind of locally filmed. It's filmed in Wilmington. I'm a big fan of One Tree Hill. I think that's an awesome show, and Jana Kramer is in that as an actress and a singer, and she performs a lot at Trick, which is the nightclub on the show. She performs a lot on there. The Wreckers have been on there, and it's more rock based. There's a lot of rock acts and stuff on there, but they do have Jana Kramer on there for about 3 seasons, and she sings, and obviously she's an actress. But then she's an actress portraying an actress. But then there's also the Wreckers are on there too, and they have a pretty cool.
Oh really?
I ain't gonna say too much. They have a pretty cool deal on there too. So there's some country music in that too. That's a good show.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, I haven't ever seen that show. It's a show, right?
Yeah, it's a show.
I've never seen it.
Streaming on Hulu.
Oh really? Oh,
for those of you who don't want to watch it.
Speaking of streaming, the Heart of Dixie.
Another good show.
Yeah.
Really good show.
There's a lot of country music up there.
Yeah.
But right off the top of my head, I can't think of the music that I might have heard up there. But I do know that's a country music.
And
show.
They have like some concerts on there and stuff, but there's a lot of background. Like almost every episode, maybe every episode, you can hear country music in the background, but it's kind of, you recognize it, but you don't necessarily know exactly what it is because it's not as much on the forefront as like the other shows and movies we've talked about.
Yeah.
But Heart of Dixie is good because I know Gloriana's on there one time, and I know Scotty McCreery's on there one time, and maybe the Eli Young Band, some of the newer acts. But I know it's very background. But a lot of times you'll recognize. I think Randy Houser's had some music on there. You'll hear music in the background that you recognize, and within the show, it's like I said, it's so background that it just doesn't stick with you as much. But it is country oriented.
Yeah, and another thing too, I couldn't remember exactly who I saw up there. 'Cause it's been a couple years since I watched it, but like Randy Houser, Gloriana, which I don't know a whole lot of Gloriana stuff.
Yeah.
But I know Randy Houser, Eli Young Band. Those groups are some that are really good, and it's like unless you're really into listening to a lot of music, they don't get a whole lot of radio play or fame really.
Right, I agree.
Me, anyway. So yeah, the Heart of Dixie is just a good show.
It's
a good clean show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any other songs? I mean, any other shows?
I don't have anything right off other than those that I mentioned. Those are the main ones I can think of that just kind of really stick in my mind that country complements movies and TV and film and movies and TV complement country music.
Yeah, it seemed like we had a lot of them that kind of they kind of went together, like the Dukes of Hazzard, Smokey and the Bandit, all that. Because I mean, they're just so good and they're full of country.
Yeah,
music,
and Dukes of Hazzard had gotten their idea from Smokey and the Bandit to do that show.
Oh,
so
really?
So that was kind of cool too. That they kind of branched off each other a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But well, as far as the topic for today, we're about to wrap it up. But we're gonna be trying to do this about every Thursday or Friday, depending on. We're gonna try to do it once a week, and we're looking for different locations because, like today, we ran into the dogs barking. Last week it was bees.
Right.
So anyway, there's always things that that happen like that. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we've been given permission to shoot at some other locations now. So we're gonna start doing that maybe within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. So anyway, all right, we'll see y'all next week.